Most people do not realize that their suffering is no longer coming from the outside. It is no longer caused by lack of opportunity, lack of information, or lack of resources. It is coming from inside, from an undisciplined mind that has never been trained to sit still, to observe, to choose wisely. The world has become loud, fast, and emotionally demanding, but the real danger is that people have allowed their inner world to become just as chaotic. You wake up already exhausted, not because you work too hard, but because your mind never rested. You carry invisible weight, unfinished thoughts, unresolved emotions, borrowed opinions, fears that are not even yours. You scroll, you consume, you compare, you react, and slowly, without noticing, your inner stability erodes. You still function, but you are no longer grounded. You are no longer present. You are surviving on mental momentum rather than conscious direction. 2026 will not be brutal because the world becomes harsher. It will be brutal because it will demand clarity from people who never learned how to develop it. It will demand emotional maturity from those who avoided responsibility for their inner life. It will demand focus from minds trained only for distraction. And when pressure increases, whatever is weak inside you will collapse first. Many people believe peace will come when life becomes easier. This is a misunderstanding. Life does not become easier. You become stronger, more centered, more disciplined, or you break. The mind, if left unattended, does not remain neutral. It becomes restless. It becomes reactive. It becomes fragile. And a fragile mind cannot navigate a demanding world. This is not about motivation. Motivation fades. This is not about positivity. Positivity avoids reality. This is about training the inner foundation of your life. How you think, how you respond, how you carry yourself when no one is watching. This is about learning to sit with discomfort without escaping it, to feel emotions without being controlled by them, to act from clarity rather than impulse. You do not need to become someone new. You need to return to a state of inner order that was never properly developed. You need to stop outsourcing your sense of worth, direction, and calm to external validation. Because when the external world becomes unstable, and it will, only what is built within you will remain standing. If you do not fix your mind now, you will not fail loudly in 2026. You will fail quietly, through burnout, through numbness, through confusion, through a constant feeling that life is happening to you rather than being shaped by you. This moment is not a warning meant to scare you. It is an invitation to grow up internally, calmly, deliberately, and without drama. A disciplined life does not begin with controlling the world. It begins with organizing the inner space from which you perceive the world. Most people try to fix their circumstances before fixing their mind. They change jobs, relationships, cities, routines, but they carry the same internal disorder everywhere they go. And so nothing truly changes. Your mind must become a place of order, not noise. Right now, for many people, the mind is overcrowded. Too many voices, too many opinions, too many emotional reactions competing for attention. When everything inside you speaks at once, you cannot hear what actually matters. You mistake urgency for importance. You confuse stimulation with meaning. And slowly your inner compass breaks. Order does not mean suppression, it means clarity. It means knowing which thoughts deserve energy and which ones are simply mental clutter. A mind without order reacts to everything. A mind with order chooses carefully. When pressure arrives, and it always does, the disordered mind panics, while the ordered mind observes. If you do not create structure within your thinking, the world will impose chaos upon you. News cycles, social expectations, emotional demands from others, all of it will flood your awareness. And without inner boundaries, you will absorb more than you can carry. This is how people become overwhelmed without understanding why. Emotional discipline is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about becoming steady. An undisciplined emotional life is exhausting. Every small event feels personal. Every challenge feels overwhelming. Every setback feels like a judgment of your worth. This is not sensitivity. This is lack of emotional training. When you learn to regulate your emotions, you stop handing control of your inner state to external circumstances. You feel fully but you are not ruled by what you feel. You experience anger without becoming destructive, sadness without collapsing, joy without attachment. This balance is what allows a human being to remain functional under pressure. Most people wait for calm before acting wisely. A disciplined person acts wisely even without calm. This is the difference. Emotional maturity means responsibility. Responsibility for how you respond, how you speak, how you carry yourself when things do not go your way. No one else can do this work for you. Your attention is being harvested constantly. Every notification, every headline, every comparison is competing for your awareness. But attention is not infinite. Whatever you give it to shapes your inner world. If your attention is scattered, your life will feel fragmented. If your attention is intentional, your life begins to feel coherent. You cannot build depth while living in constant distraction. You cannot develop wisdom while feeding on surface-level stimulation. Attention is the bridge between intention and reality. Where you place it determines who you become. This is not philosophy. This is daily practice. Self-respect does not come from being admired. It comes from acting in alignment with your values when no one is watching. It is built quietly, through restraint, consistency, and integrity. People who chase validation lose themselves. People who cultivate self-respect become stable. Stability does not come from comfort. Comfort weakens when relied upon. Stability comes from responsibility, the willingness to carry your life consciously, to own your choices, to accept consequences without blame. This creates inner strength that does not depend on circumstances. And finally, clarity. Not certainty, not control, clarity, the ability to see yourself honestly, to know your limits, to recognize when you are avoiding growth. Inner clarity is protection. It allows you to move through chaos without becoming chaotic yourself. Emotional discipline is survival, not self-help. Many people misunderstand this. They think the mind jumps rapidly between past regrets and future anxieties, never fully inhabiting the present moment. This creates a sense of pressure without progress, motion without meaning. A disciplined relationship with attention does not require isolation from the world. It requires selectivity. You choose what deserves your focus. You choose what enters your mental space. Not everything needs a response. Not everything deserves consideration. When you stop feeding unnecessary stimuli, the mind begins to settle naturally. Attention is what gives weight to thoughts. A thought ignored fades. A thought fed grows stronger. Many people unknowingly strengthen anxiety, resentment, or self-doubt simply by repeatedly giving them attention. Over time, these thoughts feel real, permanent, and uncontrollable, not because they are, but because they have been rehearsed. Training attention means learning to notice when the mind has wandered and gently bringing it back, again and again, not with force, not with frustration, but with consistency. This practice builds inner stability. It creates the ability to stay with discomfort without escape, with silence without fear, with simplicity without boredom. When attention becomes steady, clarity follows. You begin to see situations as they are, not as your emotions distort them. Decisions become simpler, not easier, but clearer. You waste less energy debating eternally. You act with more precision and less regret. A person who controls their attention cannot be easily manipulated. They do not react to every provocation. They are not pulled into every emotional current. They listen more than they speak. They observe before they judge. His creates a quiet authority, not imposed but felt. As the world grows louder, attention becomes an act of self-respect. Choosing where to place your awareness is choosing who you become. If you allow your attention to be constantly fragmented, your inner life will reflect that fragmentation. But if you train it to remain intentional, your life begins to feel grounded, purposeful, and whole. This is why attention is not just a productivity tool. It is a moral choice, a spiritual choice, a life-shaping choice. It determines whether you live reactively or deliberately, whether your mind is a battleground or a place of clarity. In a demanding future, the ability to sustain attention will separate those who feel constantly overwhelmed from those who remain composed. It will allow you to think clearly under pressure, to listen deeply in relationships, and to remain present even when uncertainty surrounds you. This quiet mastery does not announce itself. It does not seek recognition. but it changes everything from the inside out. When attention is trained, the mind stops scattering its energy. And when energy stops scattering, direction naturally emerges. Self-respect is built in silence, not performance. Many people confuse self-respect with confidence, and confidence with visibility. They believe being seen, being admired, being acknowledged will stabilize their inner life. But self-respect does not come from being witnessed. It comes from how you act when no one is watching. A person who performs for approval becomes dependent on feedback. Their sense of worth rises and falls with attention. Praise lifts them briefly. Silence unsettles them. Criticism destabilizes the M. This is not strength. This is fragility disguised as confidence. Self-respect grows quietly in private decisions. In the moment you choose discipline over impulse, in the moment you tell yourself the truth instead of creating excuses, in the moment you walk away from what diminishes you, even when no one would blame you for staying. These moments do not look impressive from the outside, but they form the foundation of inner stability. When your actions align with your values, the mind becomes calm. There is less inner conflict, less justification, less self-negotiation. You do not need to convince yourself that you are worthy. You know it because you have earned your own trust. This is the difference between self-esteem and self-respect. One is given, the other is built. Many people are loud because they are uncertain. They explain too much. They defend themselves prematurely. They seek agreement to feel safe. Silence, when rooted in self-respect, is not withdrawal. It is composure. It is knowing that not every thought needs expression and not every emotion needs display. A life driven by performance eventually becomes exhausting. You are always adjusting, adapting, shaping yourself to be accepted, and slowly you lose touch with who you are when no one is demanding anything from you. Self-respect brings you back to that center. It allows you to say no without guilt, to move slowly without anxiety, to hold boundaries without aggression. You stop overextending, over-explaining, over-giving, not because you care less, but because you care more about your energy, your integrity, your inner balance. Respecting yourself means holding yourself to standards, even when it is uncomfortable. It means not abandoning your principles under pressure. It means choosing long-term alignment over short-term relief. These choices are often invisible, but they shape the quality of your character. When challenges arise, self-respect becomes a stabilizing force. You do not betray yourself to avoid discomfort. You do not compromise your values to be liked. You remain rooted, even if it costs you convenience or approval. This rootedness creates a quiet confidence that does not need validation. As the world becomes more performative, more reactive, more externally focused, self-respect becomes rare. And because it is rare, it becomes powerful. People feel it without you announcing it. It shows in how you speak, how you listen, how you move through difficulty. This inner dignity cannot be faked. It is built through consistency, through restraint, through honesty with oneself. And once established, it becomes a source of calm that does not depend on circumstances. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. You need to live in a way that you can respect yourself at the end of the day. When you do this, your mind becomes quieter, your emotions more stable, and your presence more grounded. Stability comes from responsibility, not comfort. Comfort is temporary. It feels good in the moment, but it does not strengthen you. Responsibility, on the other hand, is weight. And weight, when carried properly, builds structure. Many people seek stability by avoiding difficulty, but avoidance only makes the mind weaker and more dependent. A comfortable life without responsibility slowly erodes self-trust. You begin to doubt your capacity to handle pressure. As you rarely test it. Small challenges feel heavy. Minor disruptions feel overwhelming. This is not because you are incapable, but because you have not trained yourself to carry weight. Responsibility does not mean burdening yourself unnecessarily. It means owning your life, your choices, your reactions, your commitments. It means recognizing that no one is coming to rescue you from the consequences of neglecting your inner world. This realization is not depressing, it is empowering. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for ideal conditions. You act where you are with what you have. You stop blaming circumstances for inner instability. Instead, you ask what is within your control and begin there. This creates forward movement, even in uncertain environments. Stability is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of inner structure. A person with structure can absorb shocks without breaking. They bend, but they do not collapse. They experience stress, but they are not defined by it. This structure is built through repeated acts of responsibility. Small, consistent, often uncelebrated. Many people mistake ease for peace, but ease disappears the moment conditions change. Peace, rooted in responsibility, remains, because it is not dependent on comfort. It comes from knowing you can meet difficulty without abandoning yourself. Taking responsibility also means facing uncomfortable truths, acknowledging patterns that no longer serve you, accepting where you have avoided growth, letting go of narratives that protect your ego but weaken your character. This honesty is stabilizing. It grounds you in reality rather than illusion. When responsibility becomes part of your identity, fear loses some of its power. You trust yourself more. You know that even if things go wrong, you will respond with effort, discipline, and clarity. This trust reduces anxiety at its root. In relationships, responsibility creates reliability. In work, it creates competence. In inner life, it creates calm. You stop needing constant reassurance because you have become someone you can rely on. This is a deep form of security that cannot be provided externally. The coming years will reward those who can carry responsibility without resentment, who do not see effort as punishment, who do not expect life to be easy but prepare themselves to be capable. These individuals will appear calm not because they have fewer problems, but because they are not overwhelmed by them. Stability built on responsibility does not announce itself. It shows in consistency, in presence, in the ability to remain steady when others seek escape. This steadiness is not rigid, it is grounded, and it allows you to move through complexity without losing yourself. Inner clarity is the only real protection from chaos. When the world becomes unstable, unclear, or overwhelming, confusion inside you multiplies the danger. Chaos outside is manageable, chaos within is not. This is why clarity is not a luxury, it is a form of inner safety. Many people search for certainty, but certainty is fragile. It breaks the moment reality shifts. Clarity, however, adapts. It allows you to see what is happening without denial or exaggeration. It allows you to respond rather than react. When you are clear, you may not know exactly what will happen next, but you know where you stand. A lack of clarity. Why creates constant inner friction. You second-guess yourself. You hesitate. You overthink. You move forward and pull back at the same time. This drains energy and creates anxiety. Not because life is impossible, but because your inner direction is undefined. Clarity begins with honesty. Honest observation of your thoughts, your habits, your emotional patterns. Not judging them, not justifying them, simply seeing them as they are. Most people avoid this because it removes comforting illusions. But illusions do not protect you, they weaken you. When you see clearly, you stop wasting energy on what you cannot control. You focus on what you can influence, your actions, your responses, your discipline. This focus brings calm, not because everything is resolved, but because your attention is no longer scattered. Inner clarity also simplifies decision-making. You no longer debate endlessly between options that do not align with your values. You recognize what moves you forward and what keeps you stuck. Choices become fewer but stronger, simpler but more meaningful. A clear mind is not empty, it is ordered. It knows what matters and what does not. It allows emotions to arise without letting them distort perception. It allows thoughts to pass without clinging to them. This creates space, and space creates freedom. When chaos increases externally, people without clarity become desperate for direction. They follow trends, opinions, and emotional currents. They react to fear rather than reason. But a person with clarity remains anchored. They listen more. They act less impulsively. They move deliberately. Clarity also protects relationships. You communicate more cleanly. You set boundaries without hostility. You listen without projecting your unresolved fears. This reduces conflict and deepens connection, not through intensity, but through presence. This clarity is cultivated slowly, through silence, through reflection, through reducing noise rather than adding answers, through learning to sit with uncertainty without rushing to escape it. Over time, this practice strengthens the mind's ability to remain balanced even when outcomes are unknown. The future will not reward those who panic quickly or react emotionally. It will favor those who can pause, assess, and respond with steadiness. Those whose inner world is not as chaotic as the external one. Those who have trained themselves to see clearly under pressure. Inner clarity does not make life easy. It makes it navigable. It does not remove hardship. It prevents unnecessary suffering. And when you carry clarity within you, no amount of external uncertainty can fully destabilize you. This is the protection most people overlook. Not control, not prediction, not escape, but the quiet strength of a mind that sees clearly, stands firmly, and moves forward without losing itself